Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Pod Up with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program. Glad you're along for the ride. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Today means we have JC, and then we'll have Mike Morgan from ESPN, get his thoughts on what's going on around the SEC and the nation in college football. But in the meantime, if you missed it last night, Aaron Judge hits his 60th home run. He is one back of Roger Maris, ties the babe, I believe. And We're going to bring in one of the greatest Yankees of all time,
right.
John Cornell, who played third base for the Yankees in a Pop Warner League or Little League at the Boys Club. Good morning,
That's right.
JC. How are you?
Just Yankee fans thrilled last night. Stanton hit a grand slam. They were down 8-5 in the ninth. He hits a grand slam. He's healthy. He's back. That's going to help them against the Astros. To me, it's them and the Astros in the American League, and it's clearly the Dodgers in the National League. But I also think Tampa Bay will have something to say before it's all said and done. But the Yankees need Stanton. They've got to have him. And Judge is, tied with the babe. He's got 2 to go to eclipse Roger Maris. So that's your baseball update, QB. And I'm ready for baseball to get on with the postseason. I looked at the schedule, man. They go all the way through the month of October in the postseason. And with the third wild card team, QB, I don't know if you've looked at it, but it's almost very confusing. You've got two leagues. The leagues kind of, I think they play each other in the playoffs, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't seem to be the traditional way of having a postseason, but it's got one more team in both leagues playing in the playoffs as a wild card. So, I'm ready for that. I'm ready let's get on with the playoffs if you're going to get on with it. And, I'm still kind of just scratching my head, QB, over what I saw on Monday Night Football. And what I'm saying is, well, because I didn't think Jalen Hurts was going to be as good as he was. I remember him at Alabama when Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator, and the guy literally could not throw a 15-yard pass complete. And he was a running quarterback. And somehow they won a playoff game with him starting at quarterback, and that was against Washington. And he's so different. And one of the things I noticed and what I learned was that this is the first time he's had the same offensive coordinator for 2 successive seasons since he played in high school. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But I think going to Oklahoma was one of the greatest things he could have done in learning how to play the position under Lincoln Riley before he went to the draft. So I'm happy for Jalen Hurts. All Alabama fans love Jalen Hurts. And so certainly that was amazing. QB, did you happen to see the schedule coming out for next year real quick before we go into this week?
I didn't watch it. I've seen it on Twitter or what have you. I mean, what jumped out at you?
Well, what jumped out to me was LSU being played with Missouri back-to-back in November on the road. And then, of course, the two softy out-of-conference games. But naturally, the return date with Utah at the beginning of the year. Fans, go ahead and start reserving that as soon as you can because you want to go to Salt Lake City. It is a trip you'll probably never take to watch the Gators play after this. And, maybe because now the playoff system. But it's one of those rare trips. I think you should get a reservation to take as soon as you can, as soon as they start taking reservations, because Salt Lake is cool. So you'll want to do that. That's the first game of the year next year. And other than that,
what's interesting to me about that is, Georgia was supposed to have Oklahoma on their schedule next year.
Oh yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, the league made them take them off. Because I thought people kind of anticipated that Texas and OU would be in the league next year, but obviously that's not going to happen. And I don't know why they made them cancel that game. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, they did, and you're right. But because QB, I mean, as much talk as this subject has gotten, I still maintained that it was still so far out into the future, and yeah, it doesn't make much sense that Oklahoma and Texas are going to play in that Big 12 probably up until at the very earliest 2024, and most likely until 2025, and that just seems like a long time for me. And the reason I guess they took them off is because they still wanted to maintain the status quo until that move is made. And that move isn't going to be made anytime soon. So we gave it a lot of attention, and I think deservedly so. But gosh, it's a long way off. Florida's crossover rotational team from the West next year will be Arkansas. So you get to see the Hogs come into the swamp in November.
Yep, no doubt about it. We got a bunch of texts on the Titan and More text line. Let me get to these here.
All right.
This is from Josh. He says, Shane, did you find it odd when AR said the other day that he and his offensive skill players just started watching film together? Like, why are they not just doing that? Seems like something they should have been doing already, in my opinion. Your thought? Yeah, it was very strange. They do watch tape together. I don't quite understand that. Quarterbacks and receivers always watch film, so I don't know why. There's a lot of things that he said in his press conferences the last couple of weeks that blow my mind. This is from Frank on the Titan More text.
Do you think that's true? Yeah, I mean, do you believe that? Do you think this is just now it's happening? I mean, really?
No, it's not. Right. No, it's not true, because I know I had a kid. I mean, I know how people watch tape. I have plenty of people on the team that I know. They do watch tape. Frank says, what makes Tennessee's offense so effective? What is the best way to stop them? Well, first of all, they got a really good college quarterback who's very, very efficient, 42 touchdowns and 2 interceptions since taking over. The Florida game, he took over as the starter from Joe Milton last year, and he's been exceptional ever since. What's the best way to stop them is stay on the field and you score points. They're going to get their 30 points. I mean, I don't know how we can keep them from under 30, quite honestly. This is from Denny on the Titan Mar text line. Good morning, QB. Do you know the guy who is supposedly training AR? Yes, I do know him. Not well, but I know who he is. I don't buy into all the training stuff. When you're a college quarterback, you don't really need training, in my opinion. I don't know anyone that I know personally that played college football and then played in the NFL had their own trainers. I don't know who this is from, but it says, I watched the Florida special on SEC Network last night. Anthony just looks like he's not having fun. He's got to figure out a way to shake that. There are rumors he's injured. Maybe that's it. Okay. If he's injured, that means you cannot play. A doctor will say you cannot play. If you're hurt, and I said this on the show, it doesn't matter if you're playing Pop Warner, middle school, high school, college football, and National Football League. Everybody's hurt. It's a contact sport. So you're going to have bumps and bruises, dings. Everybody gets banged up, and that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, what do you think about that, JC?
Yeah, I think, everybody's going to have something bugging them, physically. I've never played the game. I would trust what you'd have to say about that. And I know a lot of guys who have.
Well, I've told this story multiple times on this show, whether you're on it or not. Okay. And I'm using my own experience. I was banged up every game. Never missed a start. Never missed a play. Florida State, 1991, one of the biggest games in college football. Top 5 teams. Third play of the game, I get clobbered, just destroyed in the pocket. Left high ankle sprain, tear my meniscus in my right knee. I play the whole game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then have surgery the next day. So what I'm saying, and Danny played multiple games with a shoulder harness on his left shoulder. So everybody plays hurt. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Well, I don't want to make excuses for bad playing. If the guy can't play,
well, there are none. He's not playing well. And,
right.
And the more I think about this, and I was talking to someone the other day, and think about this stat right here. It's really not a stat, and we're trying to figure out if it's legit or not. Okay. Tell me what these starting quarterbacks since 1990 at the University of Florida have in common. Matthews, Werfel, Grossman, Leak, and Tebow.
What they have in common? Well, obviously you were starters. Obviously you played.
You got to go a little bit farther than that. Let me think about it. Okay, I'm gonna make it quick here.
Okay, please.
Everybody won a championship, either an SEC or a national title. Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit farther than that. Every one of those guys won a state championship in high school. So my point is, people talk about the winning mentality, what it takes to be a winner. I'm curious, does it start at a young age and it's in you and you bring it out in your teammates? Because those are the only players since 1990, and I could be wrong, that started. There were starters at Florida that the Gators won an SEC or national championship, and they won a state title at their high school.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with this is, and then this is not taking shots at Anthony, but I'm just going back. He was 14 and 25 as a starter at Eastside. We know Eastside is not a good football program. Is he used to losing games? Yeah. So that's what I'm just trying to figure it out, because you think about it, I guarantee you Jalen Hurts, I guarantee Mac Jones won a state title at Bowles, and he won it for Alabama. Bryce Young,
Hurts,
I believe he won a.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to that, and so I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting.
It's something to think about when you think about it. I mean, Hurts played at Katy, Texas, and they certainly won a state championship in Texas, of all places. Kyler Murray played in Allen, Texas. He won a state championship in Dallas, there in the north area of Dallas and Allen. And he's in the NFL running around with $100 million in the bank. So there may be something to that mentality that's part of you as you grow up and you mature and you're a young person. It helps, I think, to be part of a football family. You were definitely part of that. I would guess that the other guys you mentioned may have had some sort of major influence in their life that had football as the focal point in their life. So, it probably does start at a very young age. The mentality of it's all or nothing. We have to do what it takes to win. So I'm not saying Anthony doesn't want that. I'm sure he does want to win, and certainly wouldn't go out there on the field if he didn't try and want to win. Everybody's different. They come from different backgrounds. And so, certainly I don't know if, Derrick Henry came from a place up in North Jacksonville. They never won really anything, but he was always the point of their game they played.
But he's not the quarterback. So it was just a conversation. This is a text on the Titan MR text line. I don't know who it's from. They say Napier said in his press conference that due to the QB situation, they're altering the play calling. I don't agree with that, and I don't believe it. Richardson is not a pocket passer, and they'll need to let him run the Tennessee game. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that. I can promise you they're trying to win games. And the best thing he does is run the football, okay? But I'm telling you, people, that teams are not letting him run the football. They're saying, we're going to make him throw to beat us. Well, and for these people that say that Billy's trying to make him a pocket passer, that is not true, people. Billy is trying to win football games here. I mean, think about that. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Well, every coach is.
Do you not agree with that?
Well, I agree that every coach is trying to win a football game, QB.
Right. So, but my point is, these people that keep saying that they're trying to make him a pocket passer, we need to call more runs for him. Do you not think our coach knows that? Do you not think our coach is going to try to win the damn game with our calling plays that are hopefully going to be successful?
Well,
that just blows my mind.
Well, let me just throw this out in defense of all these people. If I don't know who they are, and I don't really care, but it maybe what it is that folks don't want Florida to be a one-dimensional offense, because that translates to 500 if you're lucky. And so, I mean, maybe that's what it is. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate with you here. And the fact
right, but how do you become a multi-dimensional offense?
Well, QB, let me ask you something. When Texas A&M,
one word. It's two words. Complete passes.
Sure. Yeah. And so you spend Monday through freaking Friday doing something on campus after your classes are over. So the thing is that practice is what it is, and you can practice the same crap all the time and hope it gets better on game day, or you can adapt to the different surroundings and environments. Now, listen, if Anthony's not capable of throwing 35 passes and completing 25 of them, I get that. And certainly I think that's where we really all think the situation is. But, offenses have to adapt and change. Otherwise, they're going to become one-dimensional. And maybe that's what folks are talking about. Maybe it isn't. I do know this. Nick Saban always said you have to change or else you will get left behind. And he did that with his offense. When Texas A&M came in with the tempo, when Auburn and Gus Malzahn did that kind of thing, Saban changed his offense. And it did change, and it had to change. And I don't know if that's Florida, if they're capable of doing that right now. I don't think they have the material
but what?
And I get it.
But I hear what you're saying. But what are you saying Florida should change?
Well, that's the thing. After 3 games, it's hard to really adapt into a new system.
So here, offense played well against Utah. They win the game.
Yeah.
Offense had a great game plan against Kentucky. You throw for 39% of your passes. You can't beat Kanapa Hall Middle School doing that.
Right. No,
you have to complete passes. Well, and then it comes down to one simple deal. It doesn't matter if it's Anthony Richardson, Tom Brady, John Cornell, Danny Werfel playing quarterback. Doesn't matter what school you're playing at. You have to throw completions.
Yeah.
I don't care if your left ankle's broke. I don't care if your right arm has got a torn rotator cuff. Throw completion. It's that simple.
It really. I get it.
They're not solving cancer.
You sound very frustrated, QB, today.
Because I try to tell people, I don't care who the quarterback is. We cannot win games if you don't throw completions.
Yeah. You can't be one-dimensional. You can't be, a team with a glaring deficiency that requires you to do something you're not comfortable doing on 3rd and 12, or even second.
JT, nobody wants to throw on 3rd and 12. I'm talking about when it's 1st and 10, complete the 5-yard hitch route. Okay, now we're 2nd and 5. We're on schedule. I'm just saying that's the thing that drives me insane when I hear people. And like I said, I don't care what school it is. I don't care if it's high school. I don't care what it is. If your quarterback is struggling and can't complete balls, you are going to have trouble winning football games at any level. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but QB, you pounded into all of our collective heads for months before the season started that we are just going to run the football. And
correct, and that's what we do well. But you can't. But JC, yes, I said we're going to do that because that's what we do best. Okay, so when the coach does call a pass play, we have to complete them when they're open. If they're not open, you have to throw them away or whatever, that's fine. But I don't care what team it is. But what else did I tell you? That if we throw it 27 or more times, we're going to lose the game. Did I not tell you that?
Well, listen, I can imagine what it would be like to sit up in the tower like you do on Saturday and look out on the field and see all these open guys and balls zinging 20 feet over their heads or in front of them or wherever. I can see why that would really want to just make you pull your hair out. I get it, and it's frustrating. I got to hope, and so should Gator fans, that gets better as the season goes along, or it could be one of those years. So,
yeah, well, I mean, everybody before the season said Gators are probably going to go 7-5. They beat Utah, and everybody thinks they're going to win the SEC.
I heard one guy say 9-3 on your show.
Yeah,
I heard one guy say
anonymous text says, "What are your thoughts about Kitna? Can he complete passes?" Yes, he's a better thrower, but he's not going to play now. I mean, if we want to surprise some people, start Kitna against Tennessee and bring Anthony in the 3rd series. I guarantee you'll catch Tennessee off guard if he ran out there with the first team.
That would.
What do you think about that, JC?
Well, I think Kitna would be. I mean, I don't know the young man. He might be great, but that's a tough place to start a kid that's never played and say, "Hey, go throw a 25-yard post and get me a a wheel route.
I didn't ask him to throw 25-yard.
Okay,
balls.
give me a wheel route. Give me something. Whatever it is.
Just complete the easy throws. That's what you got to do.
Okay,
Anyway,
can he throw a wheel route? Can he throw? I mean, how do we know?
A wheel route's one of the easiest throws in
that's
football.
Okay, fine. Do that. Throw it. Listen, if you got 8 guys in the box with 1 guy in the back, you can throw a 25-yard putt. Yes, you can. You can do a lot of things. But if these guys are incapable of doing it, then you're right. You won't see it happen.
So anyway, I get very frustrated because
yes, you do. You really do.
I love offensive football. I think we've had a good plan all 3 games. We just haven't executed the last 2, and it's very frustrating. And people want to see us run the ball more, which I get, and I'm fine running it 3 times and punting right now. But you got to complete passes. I don't give a damn how strong your arm is, how weak your arm is, how big you are, how fast you are, any of that. Throw completion. Mm-hmm. That should be the slogan the rest of the year. Throw completion. That's all I ever tell quarterbacks that I talk to. Throw completions. It's your job to get the ball in those guys' hands and let them do their work.
Just take what the defense gives you, too. You can do that. You can try.
Yeah. Skip says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, you told us it would take 3 years. Why do we act like we should be competing in every game? I think it was fool's gold. Yeah. So
well, Utah didn't have the benefit of. I tell you what, if they played Utah next week, it would not probably go the same way it went in week 1. How about that?
Well, Utah made mistakes by playing man coverage.
That's what I mean. They wouldn't go in with that.
Yeah, Joseph says, have y'all looked at the route combos our receivers run? Our QB can't throw it in the ocean standing on the beach, unfortunately. But we have some pretty basic route combinations, hitches and go balls, only run Pearsall across. No, there's good route running there. We're just not seeing it and letting it go. Scott says he's going to do some research for me on what I talked about earlier. So anyway, this is not pile on Anthony Richardson. This is just, like I said, if you're just a fan of college football and you watch the Florida offense, you know they can run the football, but they could be really, really good on offense if they completed passes. It's that simple. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker in Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan MO hotline, we'll have Mike Morgan in a few minutes. We'll get his thoughts on what's going on around college football. All right, JC, real quick before we let you go, since it's a short segment for you on Wednesdays, we got to pick the games tomorrow. You have the games for tomorrow, and I picked up a game on you on Monday night. I don't have the stats in front of me, but what do you got for us on Thursday?
Well, all right, you picked up the Buffalo win. All right, so we've got Pittsburgh playing Cleveland at Cleveland in the NFL. We'll start with that, and the Browns are laying 4 points. I'm going to say that the Browns are going to bounce back with a vengeance in this game after giving away a game and beat Pittsburgh by 7. So I'll take the Browns -4 against the Steelers, who once again cannot score points. They're like other teams we know.
Yeah, I like Cleveland too.
In college football, there's really one game of note. I will tell you this: there are 3. See if you can name the 3 group of 5 teams that have not lost a game. QB. One of them plays tomorrow night. Do you have an idea of when maybe one of those 3?
The group of 5 that have not lost a game.
Yep, that are undefeated.
I don't even know.
Okay, well, Coastal Carolina would be one of those teams. Mm-hmm. They play Georgia State, which could be a tough little game for them. The other 2 are the James Madison Dukes. They're 2-0. Coastal Carolina's 3-0. And the other one would be your Tulane Green Wave, Roll Wave.
Oh, yeah.
They are 3-0, man. And the amazing thing is their coaches, both he and the one at Kansas, were 2-10 last year, as was the coach at Indiana. All 3 of those guys were 2-10 last year, and now are 3-0. That is a great story. We talk about Lance Leipold, talk about the Tulane coach and the Indiana coach, Tom's Tom Hall, is it? Anyway, those coaches are 3-0 after coming off 2-10 seasons. I find that to be very interesting, and I'm happy for those coaches and those programs. West Virginia.
Okay, so what game are we talking about here?
You don't give a rat's ass about any of that, do you? West Virginia is -1.5 to Virginia Tech. West Virginia on the road.
I'll take Virginia Tech. Both these teams are horrible.
Yeah, they're struggling. I'll go with West Virginia just to be different, QB.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to get to Mike Morgan. Good stuff, JC. Go do some research on something and bring it to the program on Friday.
I just gave you some research just a second ago.
I know. People loved it. All right. That's JC joining us on the Titan More Hotline. That's our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte football picks. Let's take a timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by ESPN's Mike Morgan. You're watching and listening to Pod Up Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Escape Apology, F45 Training, Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Prime and Pearl, and the HBC's Restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where you can get Head Beer Coach American Lager in 16-ounce cans at Spurrier's, Visors, and Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to head to the Titan tomorrow hotline, and we're joined by ESPN and SEC Network college football broadcaster. I guess that's what he's called, play-by-play guy. That's what I'm going to call him, play-by-play guy, Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Shane. I've been called both, and I've been called much worse. So I'll take those two titles.
Yes. First of all, let's kind of recap last weekend in college football. What jumped out to Mike Morgan?
Well, a couple of things. You know, it's more confirmation of, to me, there is a major gap. There's Georgia. There's Alabama, and I'm still going to put Ohio State in there, although they haven't looked particularly great. But from a talent standpoint and a weapon standpoint, I think those are your top three teams. And I don't think there's anybody quite in that class. Then the real question is, well, who's number 4? You know, I had Oklahoma. I saw them up close and personal, and I'm impressed not only by their personnel, but by that new coaching staff. Some people are on the Southern Cal bandwagon. Some people are on the Michigan bandwagon, although they haven't played anybody. So I think there's a gap after the 3. Then there's those next 3 or 4. And then I'm here to tell you, brother, like from that point on, what is it, like 7 through, I don't know, 50, there's not a big difference between those teams. I mean, any of those teams can beat the others, and it wouldn't be a huge surprise to me. In the SEC specifically, A&M, a lot of people were jumping that A&M bandwagon way too early. They're clearly not the third best team. And I'm not, Tennessee, Florida will teach us something about just where those programs are, because if Tennessee wins it in convincing fashion, which the boys in Vegas think they will, then everybody will be all over the Josh Heupel Tennessee is back bandwagon. So I think that game will tell us a lot. But other than that, I mean, I just think there's a big glut. I don't want to say mediocrity, but I don't think there are great teams after those first three. And then when you get past 6 or 7, I think it's really a step down.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think Georgia's clearly the best team. Then it's Alabama, Ohio State, and maybe Oklahoma and USC. So let's start with the Gators. Gators struggle with the South Florida Bulls, which surprised the heck out of me because I watched the tape on the BYU game. I watched a little bit of their game against Howard, and I thought we would just roll them. But every game is different. I always say that, and that's true. But I was kind of surprised. Thankfully, the Gators won the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I saw some of it too. I actually got a chance to see the fourth quarter, and I'm just, much like I'm sure a lot of your listeners are sitting there shaking their head going, how is this even a game? USF is not a good football team. They haven't been a good football program in a while. They completely got lapped by UCF as kind of the next level Florida team, if you will. But I mean, again, not to beat a dead horse, but it starts at the quarterback spot, and just a horrifically bad interception thrown late in that game by Anthony Richardson, and thankfully, USF goes down and they make a bonehead turnover of their own. But when you're not getting, we already knew that Florida doesn't have elite talent. Okay, that's why there was a coaching change. That's why this is going to be a process. You mentioned the term, I thought it was very good, fool's gold, the Utah game. It was a little bit of fool's gold because not only did people grab the baton and say Florida's back or Florida could be this, that, and the other, but the Anthony Richardson love fest was way too premature. He still hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. And Mel Kiper's going on national radio and saying he's a first-round draft pick. And maybe he is. Maybe he is in terms of just pure raw ability. But man, oh man, they've got to get better play at the quarterback spot because they're not a dominating football team anywhere else. So you can't just say, well, we'll disguise that by running it 35 times a game, or our defense is so dominating that we can win games ugly. That's not in the recipe for Florida this year. So you're going to have a quarterback that's going to be able to make simple reads and simple throws against quality competition. And that'll certainly be the agenda against Tennessee, who I'm still not convinced has a great defense, but we all know they can score a lot of points.
No, I agree with you. Mike, when you look at this Gator team going into Knoxville, as you said, there's a lot of love for the Volunteers. Heupel's done a tremendous job. Hendon Hooker's been phenomenal since he's taken over with 42 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, which is one of the craziest stats I've ever heard of. I believe they're going to be missing 2 of their top receivers. Am I correct there, or did I hear that wrong?
I have not heard that. Is Cedric Wilson one of them? Because that's their game breaker.
I thought I heard that Cedric Tillman, I think, is his name Wilson or Tillman? I can't remember. But the top guy, I thought they said he hurt his ankle. I don't know if it's broken or high ankle sprain. I could be 100% wrong. But then I know one other kid is suspended. I don't know if it's for the entire game or a half because he was throwing punches last week against Akron. But regardless of that, I mean, game day is going to be there. I think Tennessee's only won 6 times since 1990. This is their year, and I know they're excited up on Rocky Top. How do you see this game playing out?
Well, Cedric Wilson is one of the keys for me. So if he's out, that's the first I've heard of it, and he is. I mean, he's one of the best wide receivers in the country, certainly in the SEC. And that's the guy that if I'm scheming Tennessee, I'm certainly concerned about him. You mentioned Hendon Hooker. I mean, Hendon Hooker was a gift for that coaching staff. He came from Virginia Tech, didn't have a ton of hype coming in, but he's just been the perfect fit for that offense. That's what when I think about Anthony Richardson, I don't need to hear Cam Newton comps because he's not Cam Newton. He's not close to Cam Newton right now, but be Hendon Hooker, be KJ Jefferson, be that kind of quarterback before we start throwing out grandiose comps, Hendon Hooker's been the perfect guy for that offense, and that offense causes so many problems. It is the tempo, it is the hurry up, it keeps defenses back on their heels. And look, when that hire was made, let's not forget this. When that hire was made, a lot of people and most Tennessee fans that I knew said, this is a very non-plus hire. They swung and missed at the big names that they wanted. And it's just an AD who already knew Heupel from UCF, and so therefore it was just a fallback plan. There were not, and even UCF fans that I know, and I know several UCF grads, were like, we weren't that in love with Heupel anyway. They loved them some Scott Frost, and they were heartbroken that he left. But they were never in love with Josh Heupel. And Josh Heupel goes there, and it's like, well, Tennessee's a disaster. Jeremy Pruitt was one of the worst SEC hires in 30 years. And they've got all kinds of issues off the field, on the field. Did they even have enough bodies to field an SEC quality team? And Heupel goes in there and just completely changes the narrative, the outlook, and everything about Tennessee football. So, look, I didn't see it coming. And again, if they go out and they are convincingly impressive against Florida, that is a program defining win. If Florida can go in there and somehow pull off an upset, and we know during that stretch of time, the last 30 years, there's been a lot of Florida teams that weren't necessarily more talented that still won that game. They have had Tennessee's number for a long, long time. If Florida can go in there, well, now all of a sudden everybody's back off Tennessee's bandwagon. And it's like, this is the Billy Napier difference. Like, you give him time and he's going to work a lot of magic. I think it's a very difficult matchup for all the reasons that we've talked about. Can Florida score enough points is what it comes down to me. Can that offense that's been sputtering all of a sudden do enough? Because you're not going to win this game scoring 20 points. I just don't see it.
No, I agree with that. We got a couple of texts on the Titan MR text line. We're speaking with Mike Morgan. He's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Here on the Titan MR hotline or text line from an anonymous texter says, beating a down Florida team with a new head coach and staff doesn't prove anything. I can promise you the damn Tennessee folks don't care if it's a new coach or old coach. They just want to win the game.
Right.
We got a text from Jonathan up in Virginia. He says, Mike, do you think Brian Harsin gets fired before the season ends?
I kind of do. Yeah. I don't. They've already wiped out the AD. That was the AD's guy. He's never been accepted by many of the Auburn brass. I feel like he's walking through a minefield. We've already seen Scott Frost, Herm Edwards get the axe. Jeff Collins, who's in my backyard here in Atlanta, I don't think he's going to last much longer. And Brian Harsin, it just seems like an unwinnable situation. And they don't have a great quarterback situation going on. And if you watch that Penn State game, there was no people are like SEC game, SEC team at home. Clearly they can pull. No, you watch that game. Penn State was better, more talented at almost every position. And that was an eye opener, I think, for a lot of people. Like, oh man, this where Auburn is right now, it's not in a great place. They don't particularly like him or feel a connection with him. He's not an Auburn guy, a Southeastern guy, or anything else. I think it's going to be very hard for him to survive.
Who do you think they go after? Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze?
And it's $1 million question, Shane. The Hugh Freeze one is always an interesting element. I mean, if I'm Nebraska, I back up the Briggs truck. And maybe you pinch your nose when you do it, but you go after Hugh Freeze. They need to do something different. But there's still a little bit of that stigma with Hugh in the SEC, and it's almost like that feeling like if you go after him, it's not going to be thought very well of in Birmingham. I haven't given it a ton of thought, Shane. What was the other name you mentioned? You mentioned Hugh and who else?
Lane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they can go after Lane. I don't think Lane would. I don't leave Ole Miss. Look, Lane could have had Miami if he really wanted it, and people assumed like we still got a house in Boca. Well, Boca's a far away from Miami, and he's pretty happy at Ole Miss. You know why he's happy at Ole Miss? Because at Ole Miss, much like Kentucky fans and Mississippi State fans, you can win 8 games, and people will still love you. People aren't going to go, we should be winning championships around here. We're Ole Miss. Like, they don't do that. They don't do that like they do at Florida and Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama and Auburn and LSU. So it's just a different vibe over there. So I don't think Lane would jump for that job.
Yeah, good point. Big game. I guess there's really only 2 big games in the SEC, obviously Florida, Tennessee, but the other one is Arkansas and A&M at Jerry World. A&M coming off the big win against Miami, still struggling offensively, but they're solid defensively. How do you see this game playing out?
I'll tell you what, if Sam Pittman keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to get a lot more SEC coaches fired because Arkansas is not an easy job. It's not. Just ask Brett Bielema. Just ask all the coaches that preceded. And even if old neck brace motorcycle guy had stayed, I think Petrino eventually would have been humbled in Fayetteville as well. It's not an easy job. And yet Sam Pittman goes in there, and that was a hire again. There wasn't 5 people that thought that was a great hire. And all he's doing is just winning and changing the mindset of what Arkansas football can and should be. He wins that game, and again, everybody is just like, how is Arkansas doing it? Now, they got a special quarterback in KJ Jefferson, and defensively, look, I don't know how many first-round picks are on that defense. I just know this: they're swarming and they play great. And Texas A&M, to me, on offense, for all their 4-star and 5-star guys, and A-Chain's a track star, and Anaya Smith's been good, and I think Max Johnson was the right choice all along at quarterback, but they're still not explosive. So I would take Arkansas to win that game. I think Arkansas is just a better team right now.
Another game I wanted to talk to you about last week, Mississippi State was in full control of the game in Baton Rouge, and then they fumbled a punt, and then the rest is history. Were you surprised at how LSU came from behind to win that game?
I picked Mississippi State, and I thought, and it's still possible, I thought Mississippi State was the second best team in the West at the beginning of the year. I said that, and in some ways I still feel that way despite that loss. But look, give Brian Kelly credit, because he was a human pinata after the Florida State loss, including from a lot of his own fans that just decided that Brian Kelly was an idiot because he lost one game to Florida State. But Kelly's not going to just let them go in the fetal position and just give up on the year, which seemingly is what's happened in Baton Rouge the last 2 years. So they're still a good team with talent, and they rose to the occasion, and kudos to LSU for doing that at home. But I still like Mississippi State. I still think they're a good team. I still think they got a chance to pick up some impressive wins throughout the year. But yeah, I thought State would win it. You mentioned a huge play in that game. You're absolutely right on that. But I'm not throwing in the towel on the Bulldogs yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. They let one slip away, but still a lot of football left to play. We got a text on the Titan MR text line for both me and you, Mike. Says, QB, this question's for you and your guests. With a healthy Jack Miller, how close are y'all to being ready to move on from Anthony Richardson? Look, well, Jack's not going to be healthy for another probably 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not saying that he would be the starter, but I am very confident that he would have been inserted into the Kentucky and the USF game, whether for a change of pace or just to complete some balls. Only time will tell. But he's a really good thrower of the football, and I just think that's what they needed in those 2 games. And he may never play a snap. We don't know that. But that's my opinion. Mike, you got anything to add to that?
Well, you're closer to it than I am. I take your word on all of those things. And look, from my time in Gainesville in the 90s, it's still in my DNA watching Steve Spurrier. If a quarterback is struggling, you go to the next guy. Now, you didn't have to deal with much of that because you didn't struggle much, but I watched Werfel, Dean, Grossman, and Palmer. I just saw that on the regular, and so I'm still of that mindset that if it ain't working, and you've got another guy, it doesn't mean you're giving up on the first guy. It just means you're giving somebody else a shot. And look, the old adage, well, you're going to kill his confidence. Well, I don't know if his confidence is doing much good if you keep him out there and he keeps making mistakes and the fans are getting restless and he's hearing all that noise. So if there was a good plan B, I could certainly see a justification to try plan B, at least give him some series, maybe take some pressure off of AR. But not knowing the extent of the backup and his health the way you do, it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, like I said, I think Jack's the best pure thrower on the team from what I saw this summer. So we'll see. I mean, the thumb is a weird deal, man, for a quarterback. It's the most important part, really, on your grip. So we'll see how he bounces back from that. Mike, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Larry. Larry says, Mike, as of today, who are your top Heisman picks?
I get asked that question a lot for September because it's still really, really early. Look, I'm going to tell you what, the usual suspects are there, but if you don't have Stetson Bennett somewhere in your top five, then you're not paying attention.
Exactly.
He is absolutely there. Absolutely there. And I'll tell you one thing. I know Georgia's got a couple of five-star kids behind him. When he's gone next year, I promise you there will be a moment in time where Georgia fans actually miss Stetson Bennett. I think right now he is right in the conversation. Obviously, Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, who I voted for last year, as long as Alabama keeps winning, he is going to be in the discussion. We're now getting to the meat of the schedule, right? We're now getting into conference play where you're going to have closer and closer games and you're going to have more and more Heisman type moments for these guys. So the votes now and who's leading now in late September, that could change 5 times between now and the end of the year. So I think it's the usual suspects, but I think the guy that's picked up the most steam of late is Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think right now, if I was a voter, he would be my number one guy. He's played outstanding football, and so we'll see. Still a lot of ball left to be played. Mike, you're going to be on the call tomorrow night of a pretty interesting game with Coastal Carolina, who's their coach. His name's thrown around for a bunch of these openings.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see Jamie Chadwell leaving maybe after this year?
Well, look, he's very happy at Coastal, and he's built something special there. They won the Sun Belt 2 years ago. They won their first bowl game last year, and they take good care of him there. But money talks, and eventually a Power 5 offer is coming his way. So his name has been mentioned for a lot of jobs, including the South Carolina job a couple of years ago. I don't know how much longer they can hold on to him. I just don't, because he's done that good of a job and by now, I mean, this year after 4 upsets already, I say upsets over Power 5 programs, people know the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt now is the best Group 5 league. I don't even think it's close. And when the American loses, like they're going to, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston, they're going to be decimated. So the Group 5 powerhouse is going to be the Sun Belt, which now has 14 teams, including App State, including Coastal, including Georgia State. All these teams are like playing in bowl games and upsetting Power 5 teams. It's a really good league. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. I don't get to do a whole lot of Group 5 matchups, and they don't get on ESPN a whole lot. So it's going to be a terrific environment in Atlanta and a really good game between those two schools who have really been battling each other for the conference crown quite a bit.
Is Old Dominion and James Madison, they're in the Sun Belt?
Yep. Old Dominion is in the Sun Belt. They knocked off Virginia Tech, Georgia Southern with their upset over Nebraska. And who'd you mention? James Madison. Yeah, JMU was a 1AA. JMU was like App State. And I remember when App State was 1AA, and a lot of their fans are like, man, Division I's cool, but what if we go from being a powerhouse to being, a homecoming opponent? Well, obviously it's worked out pretty well for App State, and I think JMU's the same way. They were a 1AA powerhouse, but if you know anything about JMU football, they're going to be just fine at the FBS level.
Yes, that's a good program for sure. All right, Mike, we appreciate you taking the time. You're also on the call of the Chiefs this weekend. They're playing the Colts, right?
Yeah, they're playing the Colts, and I get to see Pat Mahomes firsthand, which is exciting for me. I think he's a generational quarterback and one of the most exciting players to watch. So I've never been to Indy. That's one of the few. I know you've been everywhere in the NFL. I've never done a game there. It may be my first time, so I'm looking forward to that. Going to go to St. Elmo's, grab a steak. Going to check out the Indy 500.
Get you some of the shrimp cocktail.
Everybody says that. What is so good about the shrimp cocktail?
Well, it's the sauce. And let me tell you something, brother. Make sure you have plenty to drink when you dip it in that sauce. Because it is hot. But it's good. It's very good.
I like spicy. I'm a big fan of spicy, so I'm all over that.
You will definitely like it. I haven't been to the new, I don't know what they call it, the new, I played in the RCA Dome, the old dome there, so I haven't been to the new field.
It's supposed to be beautiful.
Indy, but
yeah.
Well, have a great call, my man.
All right, bud.
Good weekend. We'll watch you tomorrow night on TV, and then we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate your audience, too. Always great text messages, questions, and everything else. Love coming on, and look forward to next week. Hey, congratulations, by the way. I forgot to congratulate you on the gig. I
appreciate it.
Yeah. So you're going to be able to balance the show and coach?
We're going to figure it out. I got to figure out our practice schedule, whether we're practicing in the morning time or in the afternoon. But we'll still have a podcast rolling somehow.
Good deal.
Some way.
Well, I'm happy for you. Yeah, you got it. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, man. We'll talk to you next week. That's Mike Morgan, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take our final time out. Come back, wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogra State Farm Offices, a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ograinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I want to thank JC and Mike Morgan for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat. Schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today. Keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us today at 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 1988, Suriname swimmer Anthony Nesty, who was a Gator, wins the 100-meter butterfly at the Seoul Olympics. Suriname's first gold, first black to win an individual Olympic swimming gold medal. That was brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. He's done a tremendous job with both the girls, well, it's not girl, women's and men's swimming teams here at the University of Florida. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Tomorrow we'll have Brent Beer, a college football analyst. Make sure you tell all your friends and family and get some other folks. Tell them to follow our program. And we appreciate you listening and participating in the program as well. Today's show is a wrap, folks, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.